The voice of women, the voice of women, 91.7.
Wherever you are in the world, we welcome you to SafeSpace Conversations. Nigeria is said to be one of the most dangerous places for women of all ages with regards to COVID, with regards to sexual and gender-based violence. But despite the widespread outcry over the rising cases of rape and sexual based violences in Nigeria, it looks like there is no end to this epidemic. So every day in Nigeria, we read and hear of sexual violence, especially rape. And today on SafeSpace, we will profile a rapist and look at preventive mechanisms. My name is Tom Okiwali Shonaya. Statistics show that 90% of rape victims are females, and that means that men are victims as well, or survivors. We have two people that will be joining us, Isaiah Willaby and Hafsat Sabi Dange. We also have Mr. Fatayo Wushini, who has graciously agreed to be one of our regular resource speakers because of his years of experience dealing with issues of rape, sexual-based violence in Nigeria. So I'm going to call on our first guest here today, Isaiah Willaby. He's a project director and co-founder at Hasey Health Initiative. Mr. Willaby has 13 years experience implementing health and productivity programs funded by Gates Foundation, UNTF, US and Australian government, and other donors. He is a 2019 Obama Foundation Scholar at Columbia University in New York. Mr. Isaiah Willaby, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We want to profile, we want people to identify who a rapist is, and we want to put in preventive mechanisms. At 5 minutes after 10, please take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me today. And I'm quickly going to be diving into what the profile of a rapist look like, or usually would look like. And this profiling is from what individuals have seen, those who have observed rapists, and also what rapists themselves have said. One thing that is very important to note is that rapists usually can appear very nice. They mostly appear unharmed. That means many times they might not even carry a weapon. There was a study in the US some time ago where a researcher actually wanted to understand the mindset of rapists. And he put up an ad in the newspaper to say that if you are a rapist, I'm going to protect your identity. Just call my number. I want to speak to you to have a conversation to understand what you do and why you do it. And he left his phone, and people would expect that nobody would call him, but he received over 200 calls. What it means is that many times, and what he discovered on the call was that many of these rapists would agree that they forcefully had sex with someone, but would not admit to raping someone if you use the word rape. They would agree to the fact that they had sex with someone even against the person's will, but would not admit if you call it violence. You know, they would admit to a lot of things. So what it means is that rapists can find genuine reason to them why they rape. It could be a form of vengeance. It could be a form to justify. Some even claim that it's a way to show love to the other person. But if you see the patterns of behavior that is observed in rapists over time, you would notice certain tendencies depending on the type of rapist that it is. Some rapists, depending on the closeness to the person, have planned behavior towards this act. So it wasn't a sudden act, as some would say, like, oh, you caused it, you made it happen. Their high tendency that, oh, they've been seeing this person passing through this path for a long time. He's been living with this child for 5 years. He's been seeing this lady coming back from work at night, 9 p.m., over a long period of time. So usually rape acts are planned. And many of them also have history of either minute or very large amount of violence. So it could be from the way they speak to people, from the way they act towards people, or the way they respond to people. It's also important to know that, as people would say, what causes rape? The only thing that causes rape is rapist. That's the only thing that causes rape. So it's important to understand the behaviors or the patterns that might lead someone to becoming a rapist. So, for example, I personally believe that no one was born a rapist. However, there are patterns of behavior or societal changes or assumptions that make people become rapists. Some would blame it on poverty, some would blame it on neglect, some would blame it on whatever reason they blame it on. It doesn't justify the need for them to rape. However, it is possible to also identify certain conversations and justifications that people make that can help you to understand their line of thought, and that can help you also to provide some certain kind of support to them while they are making such statements. So rapists usually sometimes would justify some act of violence or act that look like close to violence. So they can say things like, in a lifetime, a woman deserves some slap. Just because women can be somehow, they just deserve to be slapped. They find the smallest way and they will explain it very candidly with good examples to them. Like, I know this girl, I know that girl, I know that woman, I know that lady. He almost did this to the man, that girl almost did it. So they usually would have explanations. And they would look genuine with their explanation. And they would even claim that it doesn't mean that they are rapists or they are this. But sometimes when you rape some girls, they deserve it. They would say those things in almost looking like they are sincere. But the truth is that such pattern of behavior or confessions might show a trend. And also it's important to know that while we are saying this, it's not just to say because people have those behaviors, we should start arresting them. No, it's for us as implementers, as parents, as guardians, or as anything to be able to intercept such behavior patterns by providing help, support, or even providing referral to such people before such act happen. Because the truth is that no matter what we do for a survivor, it would have been better that such act never happened. So that's why I believe we're having this conversation today. And most importantly, what we also need to know about rapists is that they suddenly have a transition in behavior changes. So you might start noticing them that they have some sort of the behavior patterns, and suddenly there are some changes in the behavior pattern. Someone that you have always left with your child, comfortable with your child and everything, they suddenly want to start having some conversations with the child. You start noticing maybe they start being in the room with that child and they are locking the door. And you knock the door and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot to lock the door. I just locked it. I didn't know. You start noticing things. When you start noticing those things, it's important that people might say, oh, you are overreacting. But you can have a gentle conversation to say you do not like this, or even try to take your child away from such behavior. And also, they start showing unnecessary care in most cases, even when it is to adults, not just to children when they start giving sweets or something. Those care allow them to have access, because most of the time they don't want to use gun, they don't want to use cutlass, they don't want to use anything as a form of violent crime. They would invite you to tell on social media networks. They want to appear as calm as possible so that the transitions, the conversations that are well planned will look almost as smooth as possible. I think I have 7 minutes already, and I would like to stop here And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer those questions.
I would like to call on our second speaker, Hafsat Hasabi Dange. She's a corporate lawyer and a community development enthusiast. She is the president of Association of Northern Women Entrepreneurs. She is a 2017 Mandela Washington Fellow, trained on leadership and entrepreneurship at the Dartmouth College in the USA. She is currently heading the Corporate Affairs Commission, Sokoto office. She is also the co-founder of Muria Mata, an initiative amplifying the voices of women in northern Nigeria. Hafsat, please, you can take the floor.
See right now that we've been doing this for quite some time now. So with the information we've gathered based on research, both in northern Nigeria and other places around Nigeria, we have come up with some tips that we would love to share with parents, guidance, and any other person concerned in curbing the rape pandemic in Nigeria. So what we're about to state, my co-presenter has already stated some of the things, and I would like to say that parents may see them as normal, as what do you call it, like they are just basic information. But based on research, we found out that a lot of parents still don't practice these things. So for us to keep emphasizing will not be a waste. So as he rightly stated, among things that parents' guidance should watch out for and inform their wards on are things like secrecy issue. Potential rapists always want to see their victims secretly. So we found out that in relationships of maybe teacher and student, mentor and mentee, or imam, pastor, or you know, relationships are always, we found a lot of issues in those kinds of relationships where they tell victims to see them in private. So please, parents should be able to warn their kids about that. Go with somebody else. We have also cases of what do you call it? Employment of minors. This is very, very rampant in northern Nigeria, though it happens in other places. You find people employing minors as house helps, nannies, and so on and so forth, and the level of care is usually very poor. So we found cases of rape, you know, where they tell them that I care about you, your madam does not care about you, so come to me, you know. So they usually find solace in such kinds of situations. So part of the preventive mechanisms we've arranged for this profile issue is to stop that kind of employment generally. So another thing, watch out for these things when it happens to children. For instance, they get withdrawn. So as parents, we're supposed to watch out for kids that are usually bubbly and lively, and they suddenly become withdrawn. So that's usually a red flag. So I can link this to issue of secrecy. You know, we pointed out that one of the traits of rapists is usually the secrecy issue. So they apart from the fact that they tell them to keep it silent, they threaten them, you know, with things like we're going to kill your mother, we're going to kill your father, we're going to harm you, and so on and so forth. So once a child is withdrawn and the child is a shadow of himself or herself, that should be a red flag for parents to investigate. My colleague mentioned the issue of gifts and sweets. You know, potential rapists tend to give gifts, and they tend to be nice, you know, to their victims. So there's a mistake parents usually make when actually talking to their children. They make it sound like rape is something bad, so the children automatically get the feeling that a rapist should be like a monster, somebody that looks wicked, and so on and so forth. So he stated earlier that they are usually nice. They are usually extra nice. So when profiling a rapist to our kids, we should endeavor to tell the kids that a rapist can be somebody very nice. It can be the person is not necessarily a monster or somebody that looks wicked. So please, we should take that to heart, please. So another issue that I would like to point out is the issue of fathers and stepfathers. You know, this is so bad around Nigeria and the world that we find even parents indulging in such ghastly and devastating acts with their own children or their stepchildren. So please, parents should endeavor to put the safety of their children first. We spoke to a lot of people that were actually raped by their stepfathers. So mostly parents tend to ignore red flags when it comes to the matters of the heart. For instance, you know, you're in love with this person, so you tend to put a blind eye on what he's capable of doing, even with your own children. So it's one of those profile topics that we were a bit hesitant in actually putting out there to children, so that it won't be as if we're trying to discourage maybe women from remarrying or something like that for fear of that kind of situation from their kids. But the level of reports we've been getting concerning stepdads, uncles, and those that, you know, are least likely to indulge, we need to put that out. So without taking much of your time, I think I have 2 more minutes to go. We're going to just re-emphasize on the issue of relatives. You know, most of those perpetrators are relatives, you know, uncles, cousins, and so on and so forth. So those trivia issues that we usually emphasize that don't allow your kids to sit on the lap of male visitors, male relations, uncles, this and that. Please, we need to keep emphasizing it and tell our kids. We know that mostly kids don't really do these things that they hear. They mostly do things that, you know, they see. So it's not something that adults do, you know, but we need to just keep being creative in trying to explain to them that this is wrong, that this is, you know, it's something that good girls don't do, you know, come down to their level and really talk to them. Then lastly, before I round up, I would like to emphasize on the issue of communication with our children. We parents are very guilty, you know, of just talking to the kids, but they don't listen. They don't listen. So communication should be both ways. So as much as you sit with the child, tell him what you want the child to hear, endeavor to also listen. So while listening, you may be able to pick 1 or 2 things, you know, that will really help any kind of situation. So please, without taking much of the time, I'll end my conversation here for later. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. Hafsat Habi Dange, she's representing Northern Nigeria. And thank you for identifying what a potential or a rapist looks like. Yemi Adenuga just dropped a message to say it's so true. A rapist is actually always nice to win the attention. I think she said to win the attention of their potential victims and victims. Hafsat, can I ask you a question? Because I can't see anybody putting their hands up. Are you saying that I know you mentioned stepdads. Okay, Fatai Osheni has his hands up. Let me take you. Please unmute yourself.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you.
I just think I should quickly drop this in. The profiling of a rapist and how you classify them doesn't seem to have a one-fits-all size. It's not something that we can say it's global. Unfortunately for us in Nigeria, and of course for law enforcement, we don't keep records as they do in other countries, in other climes. Just like Isaiah said, what is applicable in the US may not be applicable here because they have records and they have people that they've studied over time. And with people that I encountered in the course of my service, there are some other things that we need to bring in as far as Nigeria is concerned. One of such thing is, in some cases, you see some of these rapists having a kind of feeling of complex. They've had a long time aspiration of having a relationship with a girl, either from school or even at work. And they now think that this female in question is arrogant or is having this superiority thing around her. So where they have the opportunity, especially in a lonely place, they would have taken drugs, they would have taken alcohol. So they just look at it, oh, this person that right from school, I've been wanting to go out with her. She thinks she's a rich girl or something like that, or she's arrogant, she talks to people anyhow. So you see them striking at any of such opportune time, and they must have been high on something. And of course, you also have these fellows, mostly big people, who think they must get something for anything and everything they do. And who are these people? The people that are supposed to give job to people. And when they go to them, in some cases, maybe the female in question is too desperate, and you see them saying, look, meet me in the office. And the time they will give you to meet them in the office will be that odd hour when other people must have got to work, or they'll say, meet me in a guest house. And if the woman in question is not too careful, something else will happen. And spiritualists also fall into that category, that they'll see women coming to them to say, oh, we want juju for this, juju for that, and they take advantage of them. Then there are some of the people as well, some of these rapists that are these, impromptu thing that in the course of an ongoing crime, you just see that they are in a scene of crime, either robbery or whatever, and they just look at a woman, or they feel that they're not getting anything to loot in the place, and they just suddenly, something just come to their head and they think of it. And once they start it, because of the fact that they have those weapons, they now introduce that to their modus operandi in the course of robbery. Then you also now have some of these guys that in some cases, some women push them to it. You now have young ladies who would say that they want to have twosome, they want to have threesome. She already planned that, people have been talking about it. I want to have twosome, I want two person. In the process, those boys around them, before you know it, a third person will come, a fourth person will come, and because she has demanded to have a twosome, so they think that, she's just going to give out. So having gotten the second person, the third person will come and she will probably want to reject, and in the process, they'll force themselves on her. And we talked about the some of aspects of our culture in some places that they would say, it is when your husband or when your man is violent on you that he likes you. So such also happened. And when we started, we talked about some of our traditions that feel that you own a woman. Nobody owns a woman. That even when your wife comes home tired and she says, look, I'm tired, I can't do this, you force yourself and say, after all, I paid your dowry, I own you, and you think that the woman don't have anyone to go and complain to. So those are some other things.
Thank you, Mr. Fatai Osheni. I'll come back to you on that. Thank you very much. This is Safe Space Conversations. We're looking at profiling a rapist and the preventive mechanisms. Mr. Osheni spoke about the fact that some of the things Hafsat mentioned is kind of not national, but Hafsat mentioned at the beginning that it was from some of the talking to some people in northern Nigeria. And like somebody said, a rapist in Sokoto is the same thing as a rapist in Abeokuta or Ibadan, you know. An alcoholic in China is an alcoholic in Mushin. So I will just quickly take 5 comments, but I just wanted to quickly drop this message. Tinu Odukoya says, it is very tough for family members to think ill as aware of the members of their family. The rapist cannot be known by merely living with them or being in close proximity. That is why no one should be silent once an act occurs, as many families hide things because they do not want to shame the family name. So I'm going to allow 5 people to talk now. Hafsat and Isaiah, then you can take their comments, respond to it. I'm going to call on Ibinabo Dixon. Please unmute yourself, and you have maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes to talk, please. Thank you, Ibinabo.
Thank you very much. I just want to add to what Madam Hafsat said, that as much as parents would love to talk with their children, they should listen. They should deliberately listen to the children. There's a case of someone that she told me when our daughter was about 2 years old, that they ran out of lotion in the house, body lotion. So she had to use petroleum jelly on the baby. And she said when she brought out the petroleum jelly to rub on the little girl, the little girl said, Mommy, why are you rubbing on me what uncle uses on his pico? Because I said, what's because? She said the nickname they gave to pennies in the house. That you couldn't just call pennies to the children then. So she said she was shocked. And this person, I asked her, who is this person? I'll help or somebody. She said the man was a husband's younger brother who came to their house to spend some time because he was on youth service and he had no accommodation then. So for whatever reason, the guy was using petroleum jelly on himself to mess around with the children in the house, and she didn't know. So what Madam Afsa said just caught my attention, that if the mom had not listened, if she was just busy trying to do that and then get it over with and do other things, she should have just missed that part. So just imploring parents that we need to listen to our children.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I call Ololade Okobi? Ololade Okobi, unmute yourself. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. We can hear you. Please ask your question, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much for the enlightenment to the two of our facilitator. You are wonderful and great. But what my problem now is, I think it takes 2 to tango, just as I've put on the comment. Are we not discussing about even our words, maybe girl child or even boy child are being molested also? Don't we think about their own conspiracy of silence also? Because you cannot shift the blame. I think the rapist is it takes 2 to tango anyway, especially when it's at home. If by training you've been teaching your children, because that one you have to drop to them, let nobody touch your private parts. And if somebody did that, the very first attempt, the girl child especially should be able to talk. That's where me personally I stand to differ, because it's like they themselves or that child too wants to get involved. Because if not, I think the very first attempt or that uncomeliness towards her should be made known to the parent, and especially people that have guided you. Right? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Aishat Ibrahim, who just responded that, Madam Ololade, we cannot blame the victim. Victims don't talk because of fear of losing something. Well, I'm going to call on Councillor Yemi Adenuga. Please unmute yourself and take your 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. And I want to say well done to our speakers today. Fantastic job. I'm going to make very quick points here. First of all, I want to start with Mr. Owoshini, who had spoken earlier on. He said, some women put themselves in that situation. I absolutely am sorry, but I am shocked to hear that. Who are the people who start this thinking of being rapists in the first place? Why do we have to make other people the victims themselves? Why do we have to make them feel that it's their fault? Why does the victim always have to feel that it's their fault? We have to be very mindful when we make statements like that, please, sir. And more so, if we are parents, we have to remember that our children are looking up to us. No rapist has a mark on his head saying, I am a rapist. We must always remember that. No rapist carries a mark and says, I'm a rapist. Mothers should have their guards on all the time, and fathers too. But I say mothers because we are predominantly the ones who spend most times with the children, not out of any fault of ours, but I suppose culture has just put us in a corner where we're the ones who are totally responsible for raising the children. So we have to be mindful when our children speak with us or want to share something. We should be ready to listen. There's always a vacuum in any child. The question is, who is filling that vacuum? Every child has a vacuum in there, and we must not deceive ourselves. We must be mindful. If we are not filling that vacuum, somebody else is filling that vacuum. And the question is, who is filling the vacuum? Now, the one thing I want to add as well is, every man is a potential rapist until he proves himself otherwise through his action in his good character. Some men who we believe are fantastic human beings, they're great people, we've become so shocked at their actions. So how do you know really? I mean, we've put out the profile of a rapist here. So how do you know who the really good person is? Even though his character has been fantastic, one day he turns around and it shocks you. Every single man, we must put our guards up and assume that every man is a potential until his dying day, he proves that he's not a rapist. Madam Willaby mentioned there that boys are also raped. The conversation here today is not about a boy or a girl. It's about a rapist. It doesn't matter whether he's raping a boy or a girl. He's a rapist. End of story. So whoever is raped, whether a boy or a girl, they must be listened to and the issue must be addressed. And a child wants to get involved. My skin just crawled when I heard that. We cannot blame a child when a child is raped. That a child wanted it to happen to them. Why is a child called a child, and why are we the parent? These are the kind of things that enable a rapist. When we say that a child should have been able to stop it at the first instance, a child is a child. A child doesn't know any better. It is our responsibility to look after and guide our children, ensure their safety. And when something happens to them, it is not them, it is us, the parent. It's an indictment on our responsibility, on our failure as parents. So we must put our guards up. We cannot blame the children. Otherwise, we're saying that it's okay for any man who comes into our house to rape our children. Let's be mindful, please. There's too much going out there already. We cannot add to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yemi Adenoga. There are quite a number of comments there who said you've actually summarized what we're talking about here today. We're talking about the rapist. We're not talking about children. And I heard what you're saying, Bukola Olatunji, Dr. There are quite a number of Omolola, no way affected child is always threatened. I would like to push a statement out on behalf of the team of Safe Space Conversations. I mean, a moderator shouldn't be doing this, but I need to put a statement out. We never blame the victim or the survivor. We can never ever blame the victim or the survivor. So I just needed to agree with everybody and all your comments there. So I'm going to call on Foluke Ademoku to talk, and then I will go to the speakers. Foluke Ademoku, please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the organizers of this meeting. Well, I cringe over here. I'm like exploding from some of the things that I've heard, but thankfully you've rested that no survivor blaming. So no woman should be blamed, for the action of an irresponsible man. Everybody must take responsibility for their action, and that we must understand that. We must also understand that beyond our fathers and mothers, the society itself must wake up to its responsibility. For those of us who are on the field, you see what happens. You see well-dressed men, educated men, politicians, people in high places, luring in young girls, trading. Do you know they lure them in? You see men who violate, the maids at home, children. Rape is about imbalance of power imbalance. That is the first thing the first and the only thing actually that we must recognize is about imbalance of a nature of power. We must recognize that. Because when you are talking, the way we've been talking, we are looking at it from the physical angle that somebody is holding on to. No, you could, exert your power emotionally on a young girl that is vulnerable. Rapists, they seek vulnerability. And once they see the vulnerability, they just, latch into it. So we must help our young ones, in terms, of identifying their vulnerabilities and see how we address vulnerabilities. And there must be no excuse for rape, no excuses for rape, no excuses at all. There must be no excuses. That's where I'm just going to end it.
Thank you. And then the last person I'm going to call is Katumi Oboiren for this session. Katumi Oboiren, please unmute yourself. And Anto, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Thanks for putting on this program. The first issue I would like to say, the last speaker before this person that just spoke now, talked about rape is the same, whether be it a male or a female. But to me, I want to disagree on that. Looking at the laws of Kano State, the penal code of Kano State, that has made differences when it comes to rape that has to do with a male victim. It is known as unnatural offense in our penal code. And it is always difficult to get conviction when there's an issue that has to do with a male victim. And it's as if there's this kind of syndicate in northern Nigeria, most especially Kano State, that you hardly get conviction for the male victims. And for the female, there's always issue of stigmatization that the parents don't want to go on with all these cases. They'll be like, no, nobody's going to marry our kids and all that. So I feel that we need to start channeling this rape issue in terms of what is our law saying about it. I just use Kano State, for example, that the laws has already made a big difference, saying that when it has to do with a male, it is called unnatural offense, which is not even a capital punishment. It's a lesser punishment because even the magistrate court can sit on that case. So I feel SafeSpace should do something about that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. For 10:43, I'm now going to go to Isaiah Willaby. I want you to talk first. I'll go to Hafsat, then I'll come to Fatai Owusheni because I know Yemi tackled Fatai Owusheni. So Isaiah, over to you, please, to respond to some of the comments there.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm quickly going to respond to some comment. I had planned to say something, but some other people have said it, so I would try to repeat myself. But one of the most important things I also want us to know about trust between a parent and a child is that a lot of parents think because I am feeding you, or you're sleeping in my house, I have given you the utmost care. Most children, or many children, let me not use most, when you ask them the most trusted person in your life, and it is not your parent asking that question, do not be shocked that they get to the third, fourth, or fifth person before they get to mention their mother or their father. That tells a lot. So when those people experience anything, including rape, the chances are very high that it is not their parent that they will have that conversation with. For example, there are many over 50 to 60% of children under the 18 have their sexual debut before 18 in Nigeria, yet their parent doesn't even get to know about it. That's where the conversation starts from. So do not assume that you are the most trusted person in your child's life. But what you can continue to do as a parent, as a guardian, as a ward, is to continue to build that confidence, that trust, make sure that that conversation moves absolutely smoothly so that your child can have such conversations with you. And who is to blame for a rape? It's always the rapist. There is no time or any point in any conversation where the survivor should be blamed. Even when a child says, I am here, rape me, it is still the rapist that should be blamed because a child does not have the power or ability to give consent. Secondly, the other thing I like to say is the issue related to power imbalance and understanding the patterns of behavior related to rape. And I'll give typical examples. So we are trying to code behaviors in computer science of what rapists would do or how rapists would behave. And we started putting algorithms into place so that a computer bot can understand what counseling a potential rapist is or a survivor looks like. So we got to a point after collecting input from over 500 people, expert rapists in the past and everything. And we discovered that even a computer bot trying out to say raping someone who is heavily armed. So I give you a typical example. A man wants to rape a naked woman, but the naked woman is carrying a gun and the man doesn't have a gun. The man will not rape the naked woman. So being naked or dressing somehow is not an excuse. It is because of a feeling that you can overpower that person. But if you change it, if the man has a gun or the man is standing and he thinks, I can overpower this person, then it changes. The conversation changes. So that's the way it is. It's absolutely about power imbalance. It's about the power shift that makes the thinking different. And then the last point I like to make is the fact that in the conversation related to rape, it's also important to be gender sensitive. A rapist is a rapist, either a boy or a girl. So using the word, continuously using the word, every man is a potential rapist. It's everybody is a potential rapist. Many girls fulfill their sexual fantasies with young boys living with them. So boys, girls, men, women, especially men and women, they can be rapists. And we should treat them as much. If you're leaving a young girl with your young boy in the house, she can be raping that guy to fulfill a sexual fantasy. Listen to the boy. Many times when parents have conversations like this with their children, they are instructing them, not having conversation. I'll leave it at this so that...
Thank you very much, Isaiah Owolabi. Before I call on Hafsat Sahabi, there's been quite a lot of conversation there, but I want to pick up Anuli Olaneyi on your comment because I am, part of the team. You said it isn't ironic that in a conversation that's supposed to focus on the rapist, isn't focused on the rapist. That is, that is not correct. I'm not sure if you joined at the beginning. At the beginning, the rapists were profiled. So maybe you joined us late. So yes, this is talking about rapists and we outlined what to look out for. Hafsat was very clear on some of the findings. You also said that you don't think you can profile a rapist. We strongly believe you can profile a rapist from what we have heard from our speakers. They're usually family and only, they're nice. They talk to you in secrecy. So yes, you can profile a rapist. You're not sure there is a look. There is a look to a rapist. They look nice. They look friendly. It could be your father. It could be your brother. It could be your uncle. It could be your teacher. It could be your pastor. It could be your imam. They don't have a character. They do have characters. One of their characters is that they are nice. One of their characters is that they groom. So just to respond to Anuli, who doesn't feel that we are doing justice to this, we are, because we've carried out, like Hafsat said, we've carried out research. So Hafsat, I'm going to allow you to now respond to some of the comments that were posed to you. Thank you. We will call the Meji Aweyemi and others later. Hafsat, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to talk about the issue of trust. I saw somebody saying something like, who is to blame if the children don't trust parents? So then we pointed out the issue of communication. So there's this problem with parents. They tend to be too strict. Do not be too strict with your kids. When you're too strict, they cannot be able to talk to you. So the issue of saying that who is to blame if they don't trust, mostly we parents are to blame for being too strict. So please let's note that. So it is very important again to teach those children to raise alarm. Tell them it is okay to tell me if you feel threatened, if somebody abuses you or touches your vagina and penis. We should be able to be open about the correct names of their private parts. Talk to them about what their private parts are and the boundaries, please. Nobody should kiss you on your mouth. Nobody should touch your vagina. Nobody should touch your chest. Let's be very clear, because rapists usually refer to these private parts with sweet names, other names, so that the children will be very comfortable. And when a rapist is saying you're sweet, and the child comes to you and saying, oh, somebody touched my sweet, you think is the sweet that the child went to school with. So it's very important for the child to know the vagina for what it is, for instance. So we cannot continue talking about preventive measures without actually touching on the law. As Katumi rightly pointed out, that most of our laws are archaic, like the penal code in northern Nigeria. It's archaic. And this acts, new, modernized, and in tune acts like the VAMP Act and the Child Protection Act have not been domesticated in those areas. So for us to see the end of these things, there has to be legislations, that would actually punish, these crimes. So we cannot overlook that aspect. So again, in the preventive measures, I think that we've found out that some agencies like the trafficking, what's the agency for trafficking? They keep registers of offenders. NAPTIP. They keep registers of offenders, but those registers are not adequately utilized. They are not. They shouldn't be there just to be kept. Please, it should be more active, by showing their faces and putting them up on social media, so that shame, and that act will be able to deter perpetrators from the act. So these are some of the preventive measures that we should be able to push for, so that the people responsible for implementing this, like the government and those other agencies, will be able to act accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we have 7 more minutes to go, but we have 2 people that want to talk. Shewoloke Tsuyi and Ene Ede. Those are the last 2 people I will take. Before I do, I want Fatai Owosheni, because your name is trending. I want Fatai Owosheni to unmute himself. Sir, if I may ask you if you can do this for me in 2 minutes. Fatai Owosheni, please unmute yourself and respond. After Fatai Owosheni, we will call Shewoloke Tsuyi and Ene Ede, and we will be wrapping up.
I would try and do that in 2 minutes. Any solution we want to fight, we want to get out, must be domesticated. And that is one of the major problems in the country, that we ape, we copy, we don't domesticate. And that is why I have given a practical example of the professional experience I've had. And someone has said that, yes, I have not blamed any victims. What I'm saying is that we shouldn't also make ourselves vulnerable. Then with regards to the law as well, the law is adequate. Nigeria is one country that has so many laws that seems to be dormant, that we're not using. The law is adequate. We need to invest in enlightenment. We need to invest in sheltering these people that will give victims the confidence that if I come out to challenge my uncle or a guardian, I have someone to look out for me, to give me shelter. I have the power of people that has put money somewhere that it will get me good legal representation. Some of these bastards that do these things, they are big men, rich. They will go to the court and use their power. They will even get the senior advocate of Nigeria. Meanwhile, the poor victim is just there. They will say their legal aid counsel is giving him one high inexperienced lawyer. So a lot of investments need to be done in sheltering, in enlightenment of our people that will give victims the confidence to come out to be able to say it boldly. And that is the way I will round it up. We must domesticate whatever solution.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sheung Oloketuyi, thank you very much for joining us. Please unmute yourself and let's have your comment. Thank you, Sheung.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My observations are in three folds. First, I think that the time has come for there to be a law to punish parents who make their children to say, don't talk, keep quiet, because in my work as a journalist, I've discovered that that's what happens most of the time. After the children comes out, parents will now force them to stop because of societal pressure. That's number one. Number two, I think that there must be a deliberate attempt by the Nigerian police force to train most of its workforce on what has to do with rape. I've seen a lot of situations where when victims go to the police will be asking the victim, what do you go do for the guy's house? You say you don't want where you go. Those kind of questions put off the person who goes to report off balance. And if you look at, I was following the case of this young woman that came out to say a musician raped him. If you look at the way that case was handled, it leaves a lot more to be desired, because if I had been in, I'm a woman and I've been in that kind of situation, I will not come out because of the way that case was handled. I am sorry to say, right from the onset, it just looked as if the police were out to make that woman, that young girl, to submit. I am not saying that there are not good policemen. I have dealt with Mr. Fatai Osheni personally, and he is very professional. I can vouch for him. He might not remember me. Twice that I've seen him after what he has done, I have been the one to walk to him to remind him. But a lot of our police force still needs to be trained on how to do a lot of things. We are still very far away, daily and daily and daily. Look at what happened with Nollywood. Some girls came out to say they were raped. Till today, the police did not do anything, despite the fact that 1, 2, 3 petitions were sent to them.
All right.
So those are the things that I think are the obstacles.
Thank you very much. Ene Ede will be the last person I'm going to call from the participant. Ene Ede, please quickly unmute yourself, and I will have to mute you after 1 minute, please.
Thank you very much. I will spend up to 1 minute. I really want to thank you. You are among the top stakeholders that are really promoting these issues from diverse perspectives. Thank you very much, Hafsat, for throwing light on that. All I just want to tell us is that if you go to the register, please, it's not only to record sex offenders, there is also the other part that registered service providers, either as individual, as government, as institutions, as groups. Go and register and let this conversation continue. Let it not just end on the webinar. Tom, we really want to thank you, and we know you are going to do more. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So at this point in time, it's almost 11 o'clock. I have a comment here that says there is an organization in Nigeria actually went into their website at about 2 a.m. this morning. They have a 24-hour confidential helpline, 0809 210 0009. I'm going to put that out. I went on their website, and at 2 a.m. there is a Rachel that was saying that, do you need help? Do you want to talk to us? It's Women at Risk International Foundation, WARIF. It's a 24-hour confidential helpline for victims and survivors of rape and sexual-based violence. At this point in time, I am going to quickly, I sent a survey. Do you find this profiling and preventive mechanism session useful? Please, if you do, help us drop it here. What we are doing at Women Radio, SafeSpace, and Muria Mata, and talking to a few stakeholders, we are compiling the profile of a rapist. We're also working with Hasey as well, compiling profile of rapist, which we will be releasing publicly to the Nigerian media. We're working with the Ministry of Education because we'll be going into primary schools. We're working with the Ministry of Information, and we're working with the Ministry of Women Affairs. This will be rolled out, and a profile will be released to be used in especially primary and secondary schools. If you have any comments about that, please do not hesitate to send your comments to @WFM917. I'll just quickly, because of our time, the call for action on today's Safe Space Conversations. The number one call for action on today's Safe Space Conversation. Everyone is a potential rapist until you prove yourself not to be one. Everyone is a potential rapist. We need to know that. And everyone can be me, it can be anybody. So we need to let the children know that. The number two call for action, always blame the rapist. On behalf of Safe Space Conversations, I'd like to quickly come to you, Isaiah Willaby, your 1 minute, please. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I think this is a very rich conversation, and the only way we can take it forward is by catalyzing on everything that we have said today.
Thank you. Hafsat, please unmute and your 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay, my 1 minute goes to parents and guardians. Please, let's not relent. Let's not get tired. Please, let's not think that it's now over. Rape is not happening. It is happening. It is happening to everywhere, and it can happen to anyone, anywhere, no matter who and where you live, whether in the metropolitan, whether in the cities or in the rural communities. So please, let's just keep on talking about this with our children and concentrating on those things that we've spoken today about. And I wish everybody all the best with it. Thank you.
Okay, so I am going to call on Mojima Controller again, please. If you can just wrap this up for us in 30 seconds, please, because of our time.
Well, thank you, Tom. I think that all have been said, and what this has done is to call for more action in the space of recognizing it's important, profiling the rapist, and also, as you've emphasized and as every other person agrees, it is the victim that needs our attention. The rapist, the home for the rapist is in the jail. He's a criminal. He's a criminal. So please, it doesn't take two to tango. It's one person who is thinking of what harm to do to the victim. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I shouldn't be doing this, but I need to do this, please. I think when we come to webinars, it is important for us to join at the beginning so that we're not taking everybody back and we're not misrepresenting ourselves. A lady here, Oyeson, says, Tom, please refute this. No, madam, I'm not refuting it. Everyone is a potential rapist. I'm not going to refute that. This is a belief of this team. This is a belief of the speakers. And we have agreed that everyone is a potential rapist, including yourself, including myself. God refers to every man. The Bible refers to man. It doesn't refer to a woman. And we have simplified it here. Everyone, a man and a woman, is a potential rapist until you prove yourself not to be one. That is the call for action for this safe space conversation. It is a call for action that the team agreed on. And so our message again is everyone is a potential rapist until you prove yourself not to be one. My name is Tom Okiwale Shunaya. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you in 2 weeks' time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
WFM 91.7.